Good evening and welcome to Rediscovering Truth Bible Study. We are continuing our study in the whole Bible, where we're going to take pieces of the Torah, which is going to be the first 5 books of the Bible, as well as other pieces from the rest of the Tanakh, the prophets and the writings, in addition to the Great Hadashah, the New Covenant. Bringing those three together that we might get full revelation of what God wants to speak to us in our personal lives, how He's been speaking throughout the ages, and the consistency of the Bible as instruction for our lives. So it's really important as we go through this Rediscovering the Truth Bible study that we are rediscovering this truth. It's not new. These are ancient truths that God is revealing to us for use in our lives today. I'll be reading from the Complete Jewish Bible to connect us from with the Hebrew roots of the faith, just to ensure that we're really getting an understanding of the original intent that the Lord had as He was speaking to and through His people and as they were interacting with Him. Amen. So now we're going to start in Genesis chapters 13 and 14. That's what we're going to read tonight. That focus is Abraham and Lot. Though our topic for tonight is discerning wickedness. The topic for tonight is discerning wickedness. So I want to understand what wickedness is so I can discern it in others. But even more importantly, I can see it in myself. I need to know what wickedness is, that I might seek God and that He might make me righteous and allow me to be used in the lives of others to draw them also to righteousness. We know, of course, that just as it is our choice to choose the Lord, because that's what makes us righteous, is choosing the Lord and His ways. But it's our choice to choose the Lord. Everyone else has their own choice as well. God has given them choice, and we can't take their choice away. But if we are a positive influence in their lives, they're more likely to choose God and His ways. And so we want to really increase righteousness, but we can't do that unless we have a clear understanding of what wickedness is, because it can be tricky. It doesn't always look like we expect it to look. And so we really want to get an understanding of wickedness, and we're going to see it as we look at Lot and Abram, and we continue throughout the scriptures. Amen? All right, Genesis 13 and 14. Genesis chapters 13 and chapter 14. I'm starting in Genesis chapter 13, verse 1 in the Complete Jewish Bible. Abram went up from Egypt, he, his wife, and everything he had, and Lot with him, into the Negev. And the Negev is going to be southern Israel, so that's going to be like Elat, in which case they are directly connected to each other. Like we're in Newport News, you cross over a line, you're in Hampton, you cross back over that line, you're in Newport News. That's how Egypt and the Negev are. You cross right over the border, the walking distance. You walk from Egypt back into the Negev. And that's what he did. He just walked out of Egypt into the Negev. He's right there at the southern tip of Israel. That's where the Red Sea is. This is where he's going to be. Most of it is desert region, which is why he went into Egypt in the first place. Because if you're in a desert region already, then you have a famine, there's really going to be problems. So remember, there was a famine. We looked at it last week. He went into Egypt because of the famine. Now he's coming back out because God has delivered him out of Egypt. Verse 2, Abram became wealthy with much cattle, silver, and gold. As he went on his travels from the Negev, he came to Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning between Bethel and Ai, where he had first built the altar, and there Abram called on the name of Adonai. Now Bethel and Ai are going to be north of Jerusalem. So that means he traveled really far. If he went from a lot past Jerusalem up to Bethel and between Bethel and Ai, he's traveled quite a distance. In driving, that's going to be about 5 or 6 hours. So it was quite a distance walking on foot. He's now gotten to this place between Bethel and Ai, and he's calling on the Lord again, because this is the first place where he called on the Lord. This is again going to be another piece of evidence of his righteousness. We talked about it last week. You are going to see him continuing to call on the name of the Lord. It's not just that he does the right things. He's seeking God. As he's seeking God, this is going to just draw him closer to God, and it's going to affect his character, his choices, his actions, because he's close to God. That's going to be the key element, is his closeness to the Lord. Same thing in our lives. It's going to be our closeness to the Lord. Verse 5. Lot, now this is his nephew, who was traveling with Abram, also had flocks, herds, and tents. But the land could not support their living together because their possessions were too great for them to remain together. Moreover, quarreling arose between Abram's and Lot's herdsmen. The Canaani, which is going to be Canaanites, and the Perizzi, or the Perizzites, were then living in the land. Abram said to Lot, please, let's not have quarreling between me and you, or between our herdsmen and yours, since we're kinsmen. Isn't the whole land there in front of you? Please separate yourself from me. If you go to the left, I will go to the right. If you go to the right, I will go to the left. Lot looked up and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan, which is going to be by the Jordan River, that's what the Jordan is, that the whole plain of Jordan was well watered everywhere before Adonai destroyed Sodom and Amorah, or Sodom and Gomorrah. Like the garden of Adonai, like the land of Egypt in the direction of Zoar. Now, I want to point out to you, remember they were in the Negev, this is desert. They've gone north now and they're near the Jordan River, so there's lots of vegetation, it's green. This is the area where Lot is, where they've moved up north. And so in this area, you got the Jordan River, this beautiful plain, it's nice there. This is what they're looking at. And the scripture is saying that it was so lush and beautiful, it was like the Garden of Eden. And so coming out of the desert, you're especially going to appreciate that. You've got herds and cattle, so it's not just you feeding your family. You've got all these animals that have to feed. And so, of course, you know, any herdsman, you're going to appreciate that. Now, Abram is saying to Lot, listen, we got enemies all around us. The Canaanites and Perizzites are everywhere. They're watching what we do. All they need to do is see that we're divided among ourselves. That's going to put us all in danger. So if we can't bring this quarrel into an end, let's divide ourselves. Your camp going one way and my camp going another way, so that there won't be any quarrel. If there was quarreling among the herdsmen, then they're probably quarreling for resources. They're quarreling for the pasture land and things like that, so that the cattle and the herds can feed. So they're, you know, fighting over pasture land as opposed to, you know, something else. And you'll see in scripture times, particularly like we're going to read John chapter 10 in a couple of weeks, you'll see that shepherds often shared pasture land. You know what I mean? But clearly in this case, they weren't able to do that. There was a spirit of strife among them, which, you know, actually that principality is all over the region, just east of the Negev, where Jordan is, the place where Jacob and Isaac, Jacob and Esau eventually part ways. There's just a spirit of strife there. And so as they came up from Egypt and they walked through that region, it's like they brought strife with them. And so now everybody's got some wealth now. You know, you well to do, you got some stuff, I got some stuff, but they can't agree. They can't work together. There's strife among them. And it's not being resolved, so they decided to part ways. But Lot had his eye on the rich pasture land for his flocks and his herds. Now, if you remember, he came with Abram. So Abram is the leader. Abram is the leader here. And he wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for him. But he gives Lot that first choice. He's trying to have peace with him. You know, the scripture says, as much as it depends on you to be at peace with all men, Abram is trying to do that. He's like, I don't want this, you know, any discord between us. I don't want any problems between us. You, whatever you think is right, you do that, and then I'll shift myself. When he was the senior, he was the elder. Abram is his uncle. They are not peers, but he's deferring to Lot. He's giving Lot that deferential treatment, possibly because he knows his father died. He took him under his wing, and you know how that works. You got a younger nephew or niece that you treat like your own child, but their parent has died, so you baby them a little more, you love on them a little more. This is the relationship he's had with Lot. You know, always knowing that your father's gone, he was my brother. I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna do whatever I can for you. And this is, of course, what Abram has done. Even the wealth that Lot had probably came from Abram, because there's no way for Lot to have gained that wealth. Abram got wealth in Egypt. Abram brought wealth from Haran. It's very possible that some of the wealth that Lot has was attained from Abram's gifts to him. What? Yes, sir.
I thought Lot was his brother. So if Lot is his nephew, then who is his brother?
His brother was named Haran, and he died. Remember, we read that when we were reading Genesis chapter 12. It actually happens in 11, right at the end of 11. Haran dies in Haran, which is believed to be named after Haran because he died there. So he dies, and then Lot is with Abram. Abram so takes him under his wing, and when the Lord sends Abram out, he tells him to leave his family members behind. Abram takes Lot with him because he's like, you know, your father died, I'm gonna take care of you, and he takes him with him, and they go into the land of Canaan where the Lord is sending them. So this is how they got here.
So Lot wasn't serving God like his own.
No, we're gonna see the fruit of that. That is the whole reason why we're using this example today, is to discern wickedness. Because it seems from the beginning that they're the same mind. You would think that, but there's gonna be some subtle clues as we go through this scripture that's gonna show us that Lot is not on the same page as Abram. You see what I mean? Like even now, the fact that Abram has deferred to Lot the younger, and Lot then go, oh no, uncle, you've been so good to me. You choose what you want. See, Lot didn't defer back then. He's like, I know it. I want the best land. And he's picking the best for himself, the younger, not deferring to his elder, not deferring to the one who's taking care of him up to this point. He picks the best land for himself. And we're going to see the, some consequences from that choice in a moment, which is going to line up with our scripture in Proverbs as well. So you're going to see some subtle clues that are going to show you a difference between Abram and Lot. And that's why they're such a great example for us in discerning wickedness, because at first glance, you would think they're right on the same page. And there are people in our lives who be the same way. We look like we're in faith in the same way. But certain things are going to happen. You can go, wait a minute. You got to discern that. Even in ourselves. There are times when we act righteously. Then there are times we do stuff that make us go, whoa, wait a minute. Where did that come from? We got to be discerning. We've got to be discerning the wickedness, because it may not be as out and open or as blunt. But that fruit eventually is going to show up. And that's what we're going to see here in Lot's case. And it's the same in ours as well. A little sin will blow up. It will continue to increase. And eventually it will turn us into a place of operating in wickedness if we don't allow God to remove from us. Amen. Because this is Lot's first opportunity. He could have deferred to his uncle. He could have been honoring to his elder, because the scripture tells us very clearly how that's going to do. Though Abram was not his father, he had been a father to him since his father died. If he had honored him, the Lord would make his days long in the land. But that's not going to happen. We see his days going to be shortened in the land. And we'll see why. Because it starts right here with this dishonoring. And then we're going to keep going and we'll see what else happens.
But even though he gave him the choice, he also too gave him his wisdom at first that, he thought they all should stay together.
Mm-hmm. That was the goal initially.
That's right.
They would all be together and work together. Right. But when that couldn't happen, he's not going to argue with him. And you can think of any wise elder. I'm not arguing with the whippersnapper. You know what I'm saying? I'm not arguing with you, little man. If you need to move on, or if you need to move on, that's fine. But I'm not going to argue with you. You're my brother's son. I loved him dearly. I've been trying to take care of you. I'm not going to argue with you. You see what I mean? This is where Abram is here. I'm not quarreling with you. I'm not going to have our men quarreling with each other. That's not okay. We're family, and that's got to be pushed to the side. So however we need to handle this, we need to handle it. And so this is where his wisdom takes them after the quarreling isn't able to be resolved. So now he's picked this land. I'm going to read verse 10 again, okay? And then we'll see some things in a minute. Lot looked up and saw the whole plain of the yard, and was well watered everywhere, before Adonai destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, or Sodom and Gomorrah, like the Garden of Eden, which means this land was like the Garden of Eden, like the land of Egypt in the direction of Zoar. So this is how beautiful it is. Egypt was lush as well because of the Nile River. It's desert. Egypt is desert land, but the Nile running right down the middle of it makes it lush. Does that make sense? That's why people always go to Egypt in famines, because the Nile makes the Egyptian soil, though it would be desert otherwise, it makes it lush. It makes it fruitful soil. Okay, now, verse 11. So Lot chose all the plain of the Jordan for himself, and Lot traveled eastward. Now, remember I told you they were going to be northwest of Jerusalem. Now, he's traveling eastward because he's going back to the Jordan River. He's going a little bit like southeast, back to the Jordan River, to this region. Now, let's look at what this region is. So Lot chose all the plain of the Jordan for himself, and Lot traveled eastward. Thus, they separated themselves from each other. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, or Canaan, which is going to be closer to the sea, closer to the Mediterranean Sea. This is where Abram lived. And Lot lived in the cities of the plain, setting up his tent near Sodom. Now look at that. He's not in Sodom, but his tent is near it, which means he's got lots of land. But the place he sets his own house is near Sodom. Does that make sense? Do we see what's happening here?
Yes,
so first thing he does, he doesn't defer to the uncle to whom he really should be giving honor. Not because he's his elder, but he is really taking care of him. He didn't have to bring him with him. He could have left him with the older grandfather in Haran. He did not have to bring him, but he brought him with him. And he's taking care of him this whole point. So he didn't defer to the uncle. He didn't respect his wisdom. He didn't respect his authority. And he picked the best thing for himself. And even in that, now he has set up his tent near Sodom. This is the position that Lot is in right now.
There's nothing, okay, I'm not going to sin when I want to be as close to it as possible.
But I want to be close to it, exactly. I don't have to go in there, but I want to be close to it. But watch what happens, because there's a progression that's going to happen here, which is why you don't play with stuff. Because this is it right here. Right. We're going to see it happen. Lot is a great example of that.
You don't be near evil at all, if all possible.
Right.
Knowingly doing it.
Exactly. And verse 13 is going to tell us. It says, now the men of Sodom were evil, committing great sins against Adonai. That's verse 13. So we know Lot knew. Amen. Mm-hmm. All right, verse 14. Adonai said to Abram, now this is after Lot leaves. Now the Lord is speaking to him. Adonai said to Abram after Lot had moved away from him, look all around you from where you are to the north, the south, the east, and the west. All the land you see, I will give to your descendants. So this is actually literally your seed forever. And I will make your descendants as numerous as the specks of dust on the earth, so that if a person can count the specks of dust on the earth, then your descendants can be counted. Get up and walk through the length and breadth of this land, because I will give it to you. Abram moved his tent and came to live by the oaks of Mamre, which are in Hebron. There he built an altar to Adonai. Now Hebron is going to become a city of refuge, one of the cities of refuge later on when he gives this land back to the Israelites. So it's going to be a place where the priests live. It's a priest city. The priests are going to live there, which means clearly God had already set apart this land for himself. Hebron is going to be the opposite of Sodom. If Sodom is a place where you go to sin, Hebron is a place where you go to get refuge so people won't hurt you. Does that make sense? These cities couldn't be more different from each other. If you look at them historically throughout Scripture, they couldn't have been more different. And so Abram is living near Hebron. Now, because he's not near the Jordan River, his land is not as lush. He doesn't have as much vegetation as the land that Lot is on. But the Lord said that he's going to expand him, he's going to grow him, he's going to give him wealth and all of that. And the Lord gives him this land, the land that's not as naturally lush, as a testimony to himself. So when people see him prospering, they see his cattle well fed, it's going to be like, how is this happening? He's not by the river. He's not by the sea. What is going on? And the same thing is happening with the children of Israel right now. When they came back into the land of Israel, the promised land in 1948, it was a desert wasteland. The Lord has been blessing that land since then, and now it is flourishing. Even the desert has palm trees growing in it. I mean, it is a beautiful, flourishing land. It was a desert wasteland before he brought Israel back. All of this is a testimony to his goodness and his favor and blessings upon the people. And he often will put us in these situations where he gives us something that doesn't look like it can flourish, just so that he can make it blossom and he can get all the glory. And that's exactly what's happening with Abram, and that's exactly what is happening with the children of Israel. He said, wherever I send you, I will bless you. And he continues to do that. And it's not until he starts to bless the children of Israel that then people want that land back. Does that make sense? Nobody's even living in Israel, in the land where they settled before they came. In 1948, when the children of Israel came into Israel, nobody was living there. They were tents and they camped out. Why? Because they were kicked out of all the Muslim nations that were surrounding them. All those nations expelled them and kicked them out. They didn't choose to make Aliyah. They didn't have anywhere to go. So they came to this barren wasteland, which was called Palestine at that time. But of course, we know it's the promised land, the land of Israel. And they began to start to farm it. And it started to grow and it started to flourish. And now all the nations that had kicked them out decide we're going to make war against these little refugees who don't even have weapons. But the Lord defeated them, defeated all the enemies that came against them in 6 days. And this is what's important to know. On the seventh day, they rested. They worked for 6 days, and then they rested on Shabbat. You know that was God. God was giving them the land back, and he was using his mighty hand to do it. With those type of miracles and acts, you think people would be afraid to touch Israel. You would think that they would be afraid. Just looking at the contemporary history. I'm not talking biblical history because he's always done this. But just looking at the contemporary history, you think people would be afraid. You would think that they would be afraid. But in honesty, we should. Because he has had his hand and his eye on that land since this time here. And he has not changed his mind. The same promises on the land and the people.
They're cool.
That's right. That's right. And we're going to read that in Proverbs what their food looks like. Exactly, because it's not going to come to good faith. Now, chapter 14, let's see what continues with Lot. This is Genesis chapter 14. When Amraphel was king of Shinar, Ariel, king of Elasar, Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal was king of Goyim, and Goyim is going to mean the Gentiles. They made war together against Bera, king of Sodom, and against Bersha, king of Amorah, or Gomorrah. Shinar, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is the same as Zoar, it wasn't called Zoar yet. All the latter kings joined forces in the Siddim Valley where the Dead Sea is. They had served Kedorlaomer 12 years, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and the kings with him came and defeated the Raphaim and Ashtaroth, Karnaim, and Zuzim, and Ham, the Aim, and Sheba, and in Sheba Karyatayim, and the Horah in Seir, their mountain. Seir is going to be in Edom or Jordan right now. That's where that is. On their mountain, all the way to El Paran by the desert. All that's still in Jordan right there. Next, they turned back, came to En Mishpash, which is the same as Kadesh. Now, this is the Negev, this is southern Israel, and defeated all the country of the Amalekite, and also the Amorites who lived in Hatzazon Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom, which is going to be Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela, that is Zoar, came out and arrayed themselves for battle in the Sin Valley against Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goyim, Amraphel, king of Admah, and Ariel, king of Elasar, 4 kings against the 5. Now, they are all trying to take their stand against an empire that had already been ruling everybody. So it's pretty much ruling over the whole region, and people just kind of have to be subjected to it. They decide they don't want to be subjected to it anymore. So now these kings have rallied together because they're part of the empire, and they're trying to come and pretty much punish them for not staying submitted to the empire. Does that make sense? That's pretty much what's happening. You guys don't want to submit your kingdom to my empire anymore. I'm going to show you who's boss. This is what's happening. Okay? Verse 10. Now the Sidon Valley was full of clay pits, and when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of them fell into them, while the rest fled to the hills. The victors, because remember they came and they Sodom and Gomorrah lost, okay? The victors took all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food supply, then they left. But as they left, they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, and his possessions. Now watch this. Since he was living in Sodom. Now before, he pitched his tent near Sodom. Now he's living in Sodom. You see what has happened? Now when we continue on, you guys remember when the Lord is going to show up to see Abraham in chapter 18, Lot is going to be at the gate of Sodom, meaning now he is a respected elder of Sodom. So his relationship with Sodom is continuing to increase. Like first he was just near them. Now he's in there. Later he's going to become a leader of them. Does that make sense? And all the while aware of their sin. Because in chapter 18, the angels are going to say, we're going to spend the night in the square. And Lot's going to go, don't spend the night in the square. Come and stay in my house. Now the square is a place people should have been able to spend the night. In Israel, it only rains on the rainy season. So you can sleep outside. It's not even a big deal. People do that all the time. They sleep on the roofs. Because it doesn't rain except in the rainy season. So you're not worried about waking up with wet with dew like in Virginia, or wet with rain because it sprinkled overnight, anything like that. You can lay out on your cloak or whatever and just get a good night's sleep and then travel the next day in the morning. Lot is going to beg those angels in chapter 18, don't stay out here. Come to my house. What does that say? He knew the sin that was going on. Yes. He was well aware of it. Well aware. But he's become a leader in this place. We'll see that in chapter 18, of a place where he is well aware is steeped in sin. Does that make sense? Now his flocks and his herds, his fields are not in Sodom. They're near Sodom, which means he did not have to go into that town. This is all by choice. And so his choices become worse and worse and worse after he first spied the good land, then honored his elder, took the best for himself, moved close to the wicked city. Now he's getting entrenched in it. He's moved into the city, and now, because he was living in the city, the enemies of the city, because the city's really being punished. This is God's warning to Sodom and Gomorrah. He never judges without sending warning. This is the warning. The whole city and the kings are all going to be taken over. They're taken prisoner. These guys are captives. They are slaves. This is the warning. But when they come back, because they are going to come back, they're going to go right back to that same sin. And so then God is just going to judge them. But you see, Lot is not going to learn his lesson. See, we're trying to discern wickedness here. We're trying to figure out, how does wickedness play itself out? How can I figure out if something's wicked or if it's not? We see the fruit of it because this decision, once that decision is magnified, it becomes horrible for him and his family. His whole family is slaves right now. Okay.
So it's like for us, it's like you'll get called to do something, and you know it's not right, and you'll be like, oh, no, you didn't do anything with the thought, but you didn't do it. You
Right.
see that.
Right.
And then you hear it a little more, and then you begin to see other people doing it and nothing happens.
Nothing happened to them,
exactly. So then you'll say, oh, okay, let me get close to these people.
Mm-hmm.
And then you become a partaker of it, and so now you're heaping sin, because you didn't deal with the top person you hate.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Because at every turn, I have a chance to make a different choice. At every turn. We know the scripture says in Proverbs that the righteous falls 7 times, yet gets back up. So it's not so much that he made the first wrong choice and now all his fate is sealed. Not at all. The Lord keeps showing up for this man. Like he's going to keep, always through chapter 18, he's going to keep showing up for him. But the wickedness is going to prove itself because every time he gets rescued, he keeps making the wicked choice. Like it's like he's not learning. You know what I mean? He's not going, man, maybe this was a warning. Maybe this should teach me something. Nothing. He's just going to go right back as if nothing happened. That is going to show very clearly that there's wickedness there. You see what I mean? And this is why we got to see it in ourselves too. If there's no change, if there's no repentance, if there's no seeking God, there's no going back to God afterwards, if there's not an allowing of him to change my path or seeking him for wisdom to keep me from being in the same pattern again, then I got to identify the wickedness. I have to identify.
I just was reading Proverbs 28,
Mm-hmm.
and it was saying how that God would Adonai would put your path on his mitzvah and his law.
Yes, put your path.
And so that's just like what he's saying. Hey, he put you on the direction to keep his law.
Keep his laws, exactly. And we started with the very first one, which was to honor thy mother and father. If Lot would have just started with that, if he had just honored Abram like the father he had been to him, he's his uncle, but he's been like the father to him. If he would have just honored him, he wouldn't even be here. You see what I mean? So then you start with that. But then there's more. There's so many others that don't put in your lot with evildoers. We're going to read all types of scriptures when we get to Proverbs. Any one of them could have had him to divert himself away from the wickedness, but he's not going to put God's laws into place. He's not going to put God's commandments into place. He's following his own inclinations. And as he continues to follow his inclinations, just continues to be destructive.
He got selfish because he thought that he was looking at man-made prosperity. He thought it would be more prosperous.
Exactly.
Even though the people were evil and wicked,
right,
not following God's law, he thought that he prosper more.
Exactly.
Rather than acknowledging the blessing that God had already given him, and I already given him.
Exactly.
Through his uncle.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And the truth is, even if he wanted to sell his wool and his grain or whatever to Sodom, he had to live near them. You can be far away, and then once a week you make the journey to sell your merchandise, and then you come back to where you live. He got close to them personally. You see what I mean? Which is what makes a difference. You'll see Abram, he makes all types of transactions with the people in the land, but they don't become a part of his inner circle. He doesn't move near them. He moves away from them. Like he keeps moving away from them. You'll see it. You know, it happens with Jacob, happens with Isaac. They keep moving away from the wicked people. But Lot was moving closer and closer and closer to the wicked people. You see what I mean? And none of us should ever get to the place where we assume that we are strong enough to withstand wickedness. If we are around wicked people, it's going to affect us. And I need to be self-reflective enough to know that's going to happen. You know, I got to just be humble enough and recognize that as a fact. It's not about am I strong enough. It's not about do I have the willpower for it, because nobody does. We will be influenced by those that are around us, especially if it's an intimate and constant, regular connection. This is what Lot should have been mindful of, but he wasn't. Does that make sense?
That's what God wants us to do. He wants us to set ourselves apart from evil, from wicked.
Exactly.
We're not supposed to be around it.
We're not supposed to be around it. Exactly. He doesn't say, be around it and then, but I'll protect you from it. No, he says, I will pull you out. I will rescue you. I'll be your refuge. He delivers us from it, that we can find our safety in him. And that's exactly what he does with Abram. He sets him apart. That's what's happening. And that's the way you keep your way clear. That's where you keep yourself pure. So now, here we see. So he's living in Sodom. That's verse 12. Verse 13 of Genesis chapter 14. Someone who had escaped, because remember they're all been taken captive now, came and told Abram the Hebrew, who was living by the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, all of them allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his nephew had been taken captive, he led out his trained men who had been born in his house, 318 of them, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. Now, Dan is going to be as far north as you can possibly be in Israel. This is going to be, way up there, like, Haifa, past Makam, up there by, you're going into Lebanon. This is as far as he's going now to pursue those people who have kidnapped Lot and all of his family and all the people from Sodom. Okay, this was happening. Verse 15. During the night, he and his servants divided his forces against them. They attacked and pursued them all the way to Hobah, north of Damascus. That's in Syria. Y'all remember the road to Damascus? Mm-hmm. That's Damascus. That's this Damascus. He went that far. So he is completely out of Israel now, pursuing these people that far. Does that make sense? It's actually Lebanon. I say it's Lebanon. He recovered all the goods and brought back his nephew Lot with his goods. Listen to this. Together with the women and the other people. Now he could have just brought back Lot. He brought back everybody from Sodom that had been captured, that had been taken captive. Him and his 318 men. He brought back everything. All the possessions they took from Sodom, he took it back as if he was adding on himself. You know how the Lord will go in and get all your stuff back? He went and got all their stuff back, as if God himself was coming in to redeem them. That's how you know he was giving them another chance. Because they wasn't missing anything. Does that make sense? That was God. That wasn't God. You see what I mean? God was using him. He's a righteous man to bring him back and bring all this stuff back to Sodom. Okay? Now, verse 17. After his return from slaughtering Kedorlaomer and the kings with him, the king of Sodom went out to meet him in the Shava Valley, also known as the King's Valley. Melchizedek, king of Shalem or Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was Cohen of El Elyon, which means he was the priest of God Most High. This is Melchizedek. Everybody's familiar with him. So he blessed him with these words. He blessed Abram. Blessed be Abram by El Elyon, God Most High, maker of heaven and earth. And blessed be El Elyon, who handed your enemies over to you. So he's just ministering right now. Because God is sending this man as a minister. He just kind of shows up to make sure everybody knows what happened. God did this. Let's praise him. I mean, he just shows up. Yeah. It's beautiful. Now, verse 20 continues as Abram gave him a tenth of everything. Now, look at this. He's still keeping the commandments. He went in, got the people of Sodom back, got all their stuff back. This dude shows up, the priest king of Salem that he don't even know, shows up, starts giving praise to God, saying, God did this. Abram takes 1/10 of all of this, and he gives it to this man. Now, let's put it in contemporary terms. He got back, he retrieved all of the goods from an entire city. And those were city-states at the time, which means Sodom was its own little kingdom because it had a king. So 1/10 of all of the wealth of that city is going to be easily equal to about $100,000. Because easily the wealth of that kingdom is going to be equal to $1 million. That's going to be a low estimate. Does that make sense? Because we know they were wicked, so they got all kinds of stuff going on in Sodom. Now, this man, he doesn't say, oh, that's a lot. Let me give you this little bit right here. He took the whole 10 and he gave it to him. Melchizedek didn't ask for it. God didn't even say, oh, I'm going to make sure you give him a 10. It was in his heart to do it. Does that make sense? We see Abram keeps being this wonderful example of submission to God, because what he's doing is he's like, God, I know not only did you get my nephew out, but you got all these people out, and me and my household, when we went in there, they went against 5 kings. That's right. 318 guys against 5 kingdoms. He's like, we could have all died. Yes. Our women and children could have been widows and orphans, but you brought not one of his men died. Not one of Abram's men died. Not one. He's like, God, I know that was you. So he gladly gives this 10 to this man of God who he doesn't even know. Because he's like, I'm not giving it to you. It's not about this man. This is about the God he serves. When I give it to this man, I'm honoring God. And you see very clearly, Abram is still representing this righteousness for us. Amen. He's still giving us a model of what it is to be righteous. Amen. Yes.
Was he giving the 100,000 for himself, or for off the temple, or would he give it for himself, and then that man would get 1/10 of that and give it to the Lord, or was that all?
There wasn't a temple at the time, and the tithe is actually for the priest. Is who the tithe is actually for. He was giving it to that man as a priest.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. But that man was not just priest, but he was priest and king of Salem, which would later become Jerusalem. So because he was a godly man, I'm sure he took that money back to Salem, which would later become Jerusalem, and used it for the building up of that city, which would later be used by, God to glorify him. You see what I mean? So when he gave to this man, this is how come you're supposed to trust the men and women of God. Because the men and women of God live such lives that when they get blessed, they bless other people. So there's no way Melchizedek went off and spent $100,000. He went and took it back so it could be a blessing to people. I'm sure he did. Like, there's no question about that. Because he's going to be a Messiah type. He's used later on in Psalms and other scriptures as an example of how Yeshua is, a king and a priest. This man becomes an example of Yeshua. Does that make sense? And because he's king of Salem, it's like he's a foreshadow of Yeshua. So when Abram is giving that 10 to Melchizedek, he's giving it to Yeshua. And there's actually scriptures like in Hebrews, it actually says that Abram tied to Yeshua through this man Melchizedek, who was a forerunner, a foreshadow of Yeshua. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
But it's like, whether he knew all that or not, I mean, really, that's a lot to conceive of. He just did it. It was in his heart to do. You see what I'm saying? That is going to show you see the difference here between the wicked and between the righteous. And right now, again, our life don't look a whole lot different, but they're starting to look more and more different. As time passes, they're starting to look more and more different, and we're able to see it. And the same thing happens with us and with other people. It can be people in our lives. If we're not on the same path, those paths are going to diverge so far, eventually they're not looking nothing alike. Also, in our own selves, we got certain compartments that belong to God and certain compartments that don't. We'll have aspects of our life that really look like God's will and aspects that look nothing like God's will. And eventually we'll have to make a choice. You see what I'm saying? Because that wickedness is going to reveal itself. The path is going to show itself to be a path of destruction eventually.
But one of the things I noticed today is that Abraham didn't know,
Melchizedek.
but what he did is he recognized him to be a good man. And so it's like, okay, that's how we're supposed to recognize God's spirit in each other.
That's
Because you have people, like it's like you say, well, could you come pray with me? And it's like, well, I gotta pray about that. Why do you have to pray about something like that?
That's right.
You should trust the Holy Spirit that's in me because it's the same one that's in you. Because just like when Mary was having Yeshua and she went to her aunt Elizabeth, the baby jumped because they recognized it was from the same spirit.
That's right.
So that's how it is. But then we always perceive the evil. So everything is we look at as evil.
But of course, that's not true. But that's a part of the discernment. Discernment means being able to tell the difference between that which is of God and that which is of the enemy. And so if I can discern wickedness rightly, if I'm really rightly discerning, I should be able to discern God's spirit. I should be able to pick up, that's God. You know what I mean? And I should be happy and excited that God is at work through somebody else. Not jealous, not intimidated. I should be excited about it. And that discernment is what's going to make the difference. And that comes only from the spirit of the living God, not my own wisdom. Because the spirit of the living God is going to identify itself.
That's right. He says he would make his children know one another.
That's right.
And even though the world is getting more wicked and wicked, you can still see with the spiritual eye where all over the world he is letting his children get together.
That's right. He is. And that's a beautiful thing.
I know for me sometimes that it'll show me people that I just don't speak to.
Because God will just take you different
Sometimes
directions.
I feel bad because I don't speak to that person or shouldn't be nice to them, even though whatever their path is because I don't know it or whatever, but sometimes I feel bad because I don't speak to that person or God's just like, you shouldn't talk to that person anymore, something like that. I feel bad. So what do you do with that?
You have to release it to God and read the scriptures and learn his justice. Because a lot of times, especially being New Testament Christians, we don't understand the justice of God. You see what I mean? Like Yeshua was very careful with the company he kept. Like there's certain people that he didn't even let travel with him. He cast demons. Remember the dude, the leader of demons? He asked, "Can I go with you?" He said, "No, go back home." He wasn't letting him go in with him. He was not letting him go with him. You see what I mean? And there were others who was like, you need to go and sell your possessions first. You need to go handle, because he knew their hearts wasn't right. You see what I mean? He's sending them away. He was discerning what was going on with them, and there was no guilt in that because he was doing it based off of God's judgment for that person. He wasn't condemning them to hell or anything like that. He was discerning, are they right for this mission? Are they right for a relationship with me right now? You see what I mean? Because he was going to send the disciples out later, to evangelize the whole world. But at that moment, there were certain people that were supposed to be with him. And that's true in our lives too. We can love everybody in a beautiful overall agape sense, but there's only certain people we're supposed to have relationship with. You see what I mean? And that is God chosen, God ordained. God will give us the discernment to know the difference. I actually talked about that in today's Woman's Word. Y'all know I do the Woman's Word every now and then. Today's Woman's Word is on the Facebook page. It's on the YouTube channel. It's called Love is a Choice. And it talks about that. The fact that I've got to be discerning enough to make those right choices. Because it will make the difference between wickedness coming into my life and righteousness coming into my life. It will make all the difference in the world. Not that we curse anyone, but it's about I'm discerning God's will. And what I often tell people when that happens like that, I don't say, I can't be around you, I'm too holy. What I say to them is, God has made it clear that our paths don't need to cross. Because I may get in the way of what he's doing in you, and you may get in the way of what he's doing in me. And I know God well enough not to get in his way. You see what I mean? So it's not about me being better than you or you being better. It's not about a degree. I'm not putting a degree on it. The Lord said no. That means that what's happening in the two of us doesn't need to interact. What's happening with me, he needs to do. What's happening with you, he needs to do. And if we connect, we're going to disrupt each other's process. That's where I leave it. Does that make sense? I leave it like that. I'm not disrupting what he's doing in you, and I'm not going to let you disrupt what he's doing in me. And I leave it like that. You see what I mean? So it's not a judgment call about somebody being greater or better. Nope, not going there.
You know what else
it's clearly about making that decision.
Before Yeshua did it, John the Baptist did it, and paving the way for
He
Yeshua.
certainly did.
That's right. When he paved the way, he was letting everyone know that the coming of Messiah was coming, and that he was paving the way for them and preparing them for it, and that they need to repent, right, for their sins. For those who didn't, and some of them he called it out just like it was, and after he did his baptism and stuff, he went and stayed in caves and everything. He didn't stay
That's
alone.
right. He stayed among the people.
He didn't do it.
No, and that's the point. When if God has you to walk away from relationships, it's not about a judgment call, it's about obedience. You don't know their end, just like you don't know your end. Walking away from someone is not because I'm saying you are not righteous enough to be in a relationship with me, because I'm not trying to make that type of judgment. All I'm doing is being obedient to the Spirit of the living God that he has given me. And this is what I have found. When people are believers and they are on a serious path of the Lord, and then maybe there are other people who are not believers yet, or they're kind of in the gray, they, you know what I mean, they're lukewarm, not really in love with the Lord, and the Lord says no to relating with them. What I have found is if believers go against it, those people will start to benefit from the blessing of the believers, and they will never repent from their actions. So in so doing, the believer has actually stopped that person from getting saved. They think they're blessing them, but they're not. That person is learning that they never have to repent, because by relationship with that righteous person, they're getting blessings that have not come from their own fruit. It's coming from that person's fruit. And so they never ever repent. And the righteous person has not got in the way of what God was doing in that person's life. And that's what God doing in a relationship. Not because he was this one going to hell, this one going to heaven. No, because I need to work on this one. You're going to get in my way.
Because they're going to think because they're making.
You see what I mean? So that's why you have to listen to God. Don't make a judgment. Just be obedient. I'm just doing what the Lord told me. I bless God for you. I bless God for whatever he's going to do in your life. But God has sent me on it. You know what I mean? You just walk the way God has told you to walk. Abram had an instruction. The Lord told him to leave his family behind. But he brought Lot. And now we see all these different challenges that come up. And the fact that Lot is still blessed, why is it? We can see clearly in chapter 14, it's because of Abram. You see what I'm saying? Lot was taken away with the wicked city that he had become a part of. If it wasn't for Abram and the blessing of Abram, the blessing God on Abram, they would have stayed as slaves, which is exactly what the citizens of Sodom deserved, which might have brought Lot to repentance. You see what I mean? But no, Abram, this is my nephew. I got to go get him. So the Lord's blessing is on Abram. He goes to get Lot. What does he do? Moves into the city, becomes an elder. Even after the city is destroyed, the angels go in and pull him out. They had to drag him. Remember, they had to grab him and then take him out of the city. And what happens? In the cave, the daughters commit incest with him. They create two completely different nations, and both become enemies of Israel. So what happens? Not only did Lot and his daughters not get saved, but they create nations of enemies of Israel who are today not saved. They're Muslims. Today. See how that works? So we gotta just do what God's telling us to do. See, God's justice, we can't understand it. His ways are hiding our ways, his thoughts are hiding our thoughts. We can't play around with it and try to, figure it out. When we only read the New Testament, we get mercy without justice. That's why we gotta read the whole Bible.
The whole Bible.
Because we need them both. When I think I'm being merciful, I might actually be the opposite. You see what I'm saying? I might be not being merciful because I'm keeping somebody from actually getting what they need that's going to help them get back on track. Because God's a father. I'm not their father. You see what I'm saying? He's the father. He knows what people need.
And on a daily basis, every human person who is seeking righteousness, holy righteousness, they have to pray for holy discernment, wisdom, and understanding and guidance from Adonai.
That's right.
You have to do it on a daily basis. Because the flesh will
mess it up. We'll mess it up.
It's going to mess it up. And he tells us in his words, generation curses. They go look for generation.
But it still comes back to what I was saying what I had said last week about Eli. Because if Eli had just told his sons what they were doing, but he didn't stop them.
Right.
He didn't say you no longer could go to the place and collect the stuff.
Right.
He allowed them to do it.
Right.
And so it not only cost them their life, it cost him his own life.
Right.
It did. But it's misguided.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
So God may have to judge them. Is that why we have to know?
Yes, because he doesn't want to do the judgment. He wants to do the discipline.
I'm sorry, the
No, you're right. Discipline is merciful. You see what I'm saying? Discipline is merciful. Like we discipline our children so when they grow up, they will have a self-discipline. Discipline is merciful. People don't do this to the kids. Don't do that to the kids. And then they fill in jails up with them when they grow up. I don't listen to none of that. The Bible tells me I need discipline. You see what I mean? Because if I discipline them, they will learn self-discipline. If I get out of the way, God can discipline whomever he needs to discipline, and then they won't have to get judged. See, judge is the final. That's it. It's over now. You see what I mean? And that's what's going to happen to Sodom. This right here is discipline. Because God rescues them. He pulls them out. You see what I mean? Later on, when the fire comes and you can't even find Sodom anymore, it's just better to understand. We've been through it. Job do, and then we think it was something, and the signs say we believe it was somewhere over here. But they don't know because it was so destroyed. It was so thoroughly destroyed. Does that make sense? In this case, in chapter 14, they were able to go back to the city anywhere it was. Just the people and the stuff was taken out. That's not what happens when he comes to judge later on. You see what I mean? So while we might want to save people from discipline, discipline is merciful.
Amen.
If it saves from judgment.
Mm-hmm.
So they may need, whoever they are, they may need to go through the discipline.
They may need to go through it, just like we have to go through the discipline. The scripture says the Lord disciplines those whom he loves. Anybody who calls himself a believer at some point go ahead and discipline them. So how then could I accept God's discipline for me, but then be so merciful in my heart that I don't want others to undergo what has been training me? You see what I'm saying? Aaron was well trained, and he well trained those 318 men in his own house. None of those guys got judged. Lot could have been under that same training.
Sure could.
He given 319, exactly, but he chose to go a different way. Exactly.
And see, Adonai is the perfect parent.
That's right.
And so when he makes us parents, he is the perfect example to go by.
Exactly.
In raising a child or raising children.
That's right. That's exactly right. So now, verse 21, we're almost finished with Genesis 14. The king of Sodom said to Abram, give me the people and keep the goods for yourself, because he was going to take the people back to their city so they can populate their homes. But Abram answered the king of Sodom, I have raised my hand in an oath to Adonai El Elyon, maker of heaven and earth, that I will not take so much as a thread or a sandal thong of anything that is yours, so that you won't be able to say, I made Abram rich. I will take only what my troops have eaten, and to share the spoil belonging to the men who came with me, Anna, Ashkal, and Mamre. Let them have their share. Now, what becomes so important to note here is that Abram is just for his own reputation. He didn't want the king of Sodom to ever look back, because the Lord keeps increasing Abram's wealth. He didn't want the king of Sodom to be like, oh yeah, that's all our stuff. You know what I mean? Because it wouldn't have been true. This is just so that he can rest in the Lord's wealth for him. He didn't look on their wealth. He didn't have eyes for it. He didn't covet it. But God through the righteousness of his heart, what he's really doing is saving Abram from the connection with those unrighteous people. Because you'll learn later on, when the Lord tells him to go in and take over cities, he has them destroy even the physical objects. Because there's a connection to wickedness. There's demonic connection to those objects. Abram is getting rid of everything. That stuff is not even coming into his camp. You see what I mean? Now, it becomes so important to recognize this because he's not saying consciously that that's what he's doing, but just out of the righteousness of his heart, to want to give God glory for everything and not depend on man, it actually saves his household from these adulterous and idolatrous influences. There's no telling what type of stuff was in there. They could have had golden idols. They could have had all types of stuff. Now, most people, if they didn't worship the idol, they would have melted it down and turned it into something else. But how cursed is gold that has been worshipped? You see what I'm saying? As an idol, the spirit will still be connected to it. So I don't get rid of all of it. You see what I mean? He's like, that didn't even come on with
The cattle and everything.
everything. He sent it all back.
Demons
Demons came in then. He sent it all back with the king of Sodom. So he's like, I'm not taking anything from your kingdom. And in this way, God spares his household from defilement. His household does not get defiled by taking in all of these things. And he didn't know what was going on in Sodom. He wasn't over there. He was far away. He was way on the other side of the land. You see what I mean? But God spares him because of the righteousness in his own heart. It actually serves his family well. That makes sense.
Amen.
One time I was listening to him and he said that he had got a CD from someplace and he brought it home. And when he brought it home, strange things started happening in his house. So he destroyed his CD. And he said just like how he destroyed it and he got rid of it, he said one came in the mail.
The same CD.
The same, and
Wow.
he said it took him 3 times to get rid of that
That was saying being consistent.
Right. He was
That there
trying to defile.
was something that was attached to this CD.
And a lot of times that discernment, okay, something's wrong with this, we will dismiss stuff like that. But that's the whole point of this lesson is discerning wickedness. Not to dismiss it. Just go with the Lord is showing you. I didn't know why. It was just in his heart to send all that stuff back. We got to be in that same place. And just go, you know what? I don't think so. You see what I mean? And people give me gifts all the time. And there's certain times when I go, they don't even be in my house. And you know what I mean? And we just get rid of it. Or I'll look at it later on and go, what's going on? And I'll just get rid of it. And I don't ask no questions. I don't go, God will show me what's going on. In the past 3 days, no, something's wrong. Get rid of it. You see what I mean?
Even though you use the statement, I don't know why, actually you do, because it's holy discernment.
Oh yeah, I know that it's not good, but I mean, some people, they need to know the specific spirit. I mean,
Right.
No, I don't need to know all that.
Right.
I know it's not God's will to be in my house.
Right.
You see what I mean? And that's enough discernment.
That whole discernment was guilty.
Exactly. That's enough to know. You see what I mean?
But that's because you're not really spending time doing what God says, so that's why you could spend 3 days fasting to find out what some God to get rid of.
Exactly. And a lot of times, and especially in this generation, there is such a propensity for wickedness. We're drawn in, we're excited about wickedness. Those things entice us. And we might not say, oh, that's enticing to me, but even, there's so many believers who are so interested in the demonic. We need to know the demonic realm for warfare purposes, but I don't need to know it. You see what I mean? I don't need intimate knowledge of the demonic. I don't need that. I need intimate knowledge of him.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because he says don't know those things. Don't know them. You see what I mean? So we got to get rid of that fascination with the spiritual realm, especially with regard to the demonic realm. No. I need to discern what's not of God and get it away from me. I don't need to know all of everything. I don't need to know all of it. You see what I'm saying? Because what it does is now I'm building a relationship with it while I'm investigating. You see what I mean? And I don't need those open doors into my mind, into my soul. I need to shut those doors. Does that make sense? Like that is a really big deal. Like it's a big deal. I remember when I was studying the Quran, so I could expose the falsehoods in the Quran. My head was hurting so bad, which I'm sure was happening with Muhammad, because when he tried to have no seizures and all that stuff, when he was hearing from that spirit, my head was hurting, all this, and I wrote, I think, 4 really good articles about the error in the Quran and in Islam, just so people could see it and connect it with the Bible and match it up. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times we don't have anything to say back about it. But I remember when I was like, my head is hurting, it's hurting so bad. And I asked my husband, I said, can you pray with my head? And he said, why don't you get rid of the book? And I went,
That's right.
yeah. And I had like 3 copies of it because they have different versions, just like the Bible, they have different versions. I got rid of all of them, and my headache stopped. I mean, it just was just like that because it was not a study I needed to continue. He wanted to show me something, he showed it to me. That was the end. it was supposed to be over. I didn't need it hanging around in my house. I didn't need it with my other books. It needed to be gone. You see what I mean? And it had to be gone. I got rid of it. And then, but these are the things we have to discern and think about. Okay, God doesn't want us to connect. Let it go.
I did a class on comparative religion.
Mm.
That thing was, I was like, are you serious? I said, God, show me a way I can cheat right now because I can't read all this junk.
Yeah, because that was
Because it was like, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't believe that a lot of people realize in all these religions that we have, they all started with one same thing, with Eve, and when the serpent said to Eve that she would be just like God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how all of them, these religions started, because someone got by themselves and said, I'm going to be just like God, I am the son.
But make myself.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And you get people follow.
And all of that comes straight from Satan, because he's always trying to exalt himself like the Messiah. Like it completely comes from him. Exactly. So now let's look at Proverbs 11 and get this wisdom. This is the wisdom that I renew that we don't see happening with Lot, but he clearly needs that discernment. Now it's going to tell us a lot of different things that should help us to know the difference between wickedness and righteousness. Amen. Verse 1. False scales are an abomination to Adonai, but accurate weights please him. That's going to be about charging the wrong prices. Inflated prices, cheating people. First comes pride, then disgrace, but with the humble is wisdom. So I want to be honest, I want to be humble. The integrity of the upright guides him, but the duplicity of the treacherous destroys him. Duplicity is going to mean I'm two ways. I got two minds. I'm double-minded. I'm here and I'm over there. Duplicity. That I'm not focused. I'm not single-minded. So being duplicitous over here and there, lukewarm. You got the hot and the cold. It's going to lead to destruction. On the day of wrath, wealth doesn't help. But righteousness rescues from death. And we saw that tonight in Genesis 14. The righteousness of the innocent levels their way, but the wickedness of the wicked makes them fall. The righteousness of the upright rescues them, but the treacherous are trapped by their own intrigues. When the wicked man dies, his hope perishes. What he hopes for from evil comes to nothing. The righteous is delivered from trouble, and the wicked comes to take his place. We saw that in Genesis 14 also. With his mouth, the hypocrite can ruin his neighbor, but by knowledge, the righteous are delivered. When the righteous prosper, the city rejoices, and when the wicked perish, there is joy. Abram's prosperity brought a whole city into a place of deliverance. We see that because of his righteousness. And not just prospering in wealth, but prospering in his soul. By the blessing of the upright, a city is raised up, but the words of the wicked tear it down. And that's what happened with Sodom. It gets torn down by wickedness.
Could you explain number 10 for me, where it says, I wonder wicked perish, there's joy?
Like when Hitler died, everybody in the world was happy because he had killed 6 million people, 6 million Jews, and then like 9 million people overall died in World War II. You see what I mean? So I'm excited that this wicked man has perished, that he is no longer alive. You know, like really, people rejoice. You see what I mean? This is the point. It's like you don't want people to be glad that you're dead. This is what the Lord is saying. Instead, you want them to rejoice because you are prospering, and in your prosperity, you're able to help others. You're in a position to help others. That's what happened to Abram. His prosperity positioned him to help others. All his men servants and maid servants, he was training them in righteousness. So when it was time to go deliver somebody, he didn't have to do all this stuff to try to get them ready. They had been in constant training. You see what I mean? Because he was righteous. And that was what he was spending his time doing, training them in righteousness, training them in warfare. You know, training them to call on the Lord. This is what he was doing. And we'll see that later on when his household is circumcised. He circumcised everybody in his household. What is him and his son? He circumcised everybody, all the men, servants, everybody. Because that was how he ran his household. We all gonna serve the Lord. You see what I mean? And that made him prosper, and it actually benefited the Sodomites, as we saw as well.
Alicia Texan said she kind of had a question. She said to repeat it before she answered.
Okay, great. So I'll repeat the question so that those at home. Sometimes y'all talk soft, but sometimes you talk loud. So, amen. I repeat that question. Laverne just actually asked me to explain verse 10. That's what we're explaining. Why the city will rejoice when the wicked perish. Verse 12. He who belittles another lacks good sense, whereas a person of discernment stays silent. So even if he has something negative to say, he's going to keep his mouth closed. The discerning person keeps his mouth closed because he's not going to speak against someone else because he knows that's going to come back to himself. You see what I mean? That's right there in verse 12. A gossip goes around revealing secrets, but a trustworthy person keeps his confidence or keeps a confidence. Without clever tactics, an army is defeated, and victory comes from much planning. And that's what we saw with Abram. They didn't plan the night that Lot got kidnapped. They had already been planning. They had already been preparing for victory. He didn't know who would ever attack them. You know, remember the Perizzites and the Canaanites are right there. So he knew at any moment somebody tried to attack us. So they were always ready. You see what I mean? He who guarantees a loan for a stranger will suffer, but refusing to underwrite is safe. This is going to be about cosigning. Putting your name to somebody else's debt, because it will in the end harm you. Because there's a reason why they need your name, because their name isn't good enough to get it. So this is putting you in a bad position. So it's saying not to do it. 16. A gracious woman obtains honor. Aggressive men obtain wealth. And we've already seen, though, that wealth is going to be fleeting. You can't take the wealth with you, and if you're wicked, that wealth is going to be taken away from you. But he's saying if you're aggressive, you'll get some wealth. So don't think that's the blessing of the Lord. It's because you're aggressive. That's why you got the wealth. And we see that a lot. The boldest, the boorish people, the most selfish people, they're going to be wealthy because they're going to get theirs. But we're learning through this chapter what happens to them. So clearly that's not the most important thing. This gracious woman, she has honor, and that's going to be valued more. Yes. She's not necessarily going to be broken, because if you're honored, people are going to bless you. People will pour into your bosom. That's when you're honored. It's not just they don't walk by you and go, "Oh, we honor you." You understand what I'm saying? When people honor you, they bless you. They put money in your hand. They buy you stuff, and not only that, when you're honored by people and God will pour into you. So it doesn't say that she's broke.
And make sure that your every need is provided for.
That's a mindset. Because it didn't mention her wealth, you assume she's broke. You see what I mean?
And even sometimes your heart's desire.
That's right. That's right. That's what the scripture says. The man's ways are pleasing to God, and given his eyes of his heart. That's what it says. And she may not want the big wealth that this aggressive man has, but she's going to want to take care of her needs, take care of her family, and bless the poor. And he will give her enough to do that. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So we shouldn't co-sign for nobody there?
It's saying clearly here that we should not do it. And here's the point. This is what you got to know. Because this is pretty much you're lending your name is what you're doing. If you're not in a position to actually pay that debt, should they default, you shouldn't sign, because that's what you're signing. When you co-sign, you're saying if they don't pay you, I'm going to pay you. And if you're not in a position in your heart or in your wealth to do that, you're lying and you're setting yourself up for a fall.
I think that makes no sense, because what I was saying is like family members sometimes need help. Sometimes you got to do things like that. So, so in other words, if they're not paying, you got to be willing to say, so you're looking for them not to pay, so you ain't not paying.
Right. You got to be prepared for that. Or you have to handle the situation best. Like some family members, if you co-sign for somebody, you're not willing to go get the car back from them and say, hey, we got to surrender this car. You're not paying the bill. You see what I mean? If you know you're not going to be able to have that conversation with your family member, you probably shouldn't co-sign. You see what I'm saying? But if you're at a place where you know I'm going to be able to set the boundary right now, I'm going to pay attention to whether they're making the payments. I'm going to watch what's happening. If they, you know what I mean? If they're challenged, I'll help them out. But if I see there's complete irresponsibility, then I got to be willing to take some measures, because signing on that line is not just my signature. I'm putting my name and my credit to it, so I got to be willing to back that up. You see what I mean? And there's certain people in our lives that we are willing to do that for. When our children first starting in life, because I'm always their backup. Whether I sign my name or not, I'm their backup. Anything they can't pay, who they go. You know what I'm saying? So I automatically know that. But there's others who maybe I don't want that relationship with. If I don't want that relationship with them, I do not need to sign. You see, because what this proverb is trying to tell me is that I've now created that type of relationship.
So that's just like what you were saying, just like loaning people money. If you're not willing to give it, what is it?
Don't loan money. This is what I always say. Don't loan money you're not willing to give away. Because if you know, like let's say for example, you need $200 today. But I know in 5 days, I'm going to need that same $200 to pay my rent or my mortgage. And I'm not going to be able to replace that. Like, and you say, oh, I'm gonna give it back to you in those 5 days. Here's the challenge. If you don't give it back to me in those 5 days, my rent and my mortgage doesn't get paid. Now our relationship is strained and my household is suffering. If I know that, I'm not gonna loan it to you. Why? Because I'm putting our relationship in danger and I'm putting my household in danger. I gotta believe God that he's gonna do it a different way. Now, if I know I have what I need for my household and I can afford to give you that $200, then I can loan it to you so that if you wind up later on, you need any more grace, you need more time, our relationship isn't strained at all because I know I'm okay. You can keep that for a little while, even if you never pay me back, and every time you see me, you act like you don't remember it. I can release that. That happens with family a lot. I have to release that in my heart. So if in my heart I didn't have that attitude from the beginning, I should have known. Because it's going to strain the relationship. Like that's going to happen. If I'm looking for it and you ducking me, you see what I mean? That's going to strain the relationship. So you got to think to myself, if they can't afford to pay me back, or if they choose not to, can I afford to let them have it? You see what I mean? Because if so, then that's a good loan. Because it's not going to hurt your relationship with them. It's not even going to hurt them. Because some people, you know, they live paycheck to paycheck. The truth is, the next paycheck they get, that's already accounted for. Right. How can they pay you back out there? You see what I mean? So you gotta sort of assess that. You're not gonna pay me back. You know, next month, you already planned it out. You know, you're not gonna be able to give me anything out of that, but you'll be back in the same hole.
But you have to be in a good place to do something.
You have to be in a good place. And this is what God is teaching us. That's the place he wants us to be in. Our group could go and rescue Lot and didn't need none of that money. Right. He didn't need the money from Sodom. You see what I mean? God wants us to be in those positions where I can say, I don't even need that.
That's because God was already blessing.
Because God was already blessing him, because he was already walking with God, because he's already righteous. Exactly. You see what I mean? And that's an important place.
Whether it's family or colleague or friend or sister or whatever, you need that discernment too.
Right.
To judge whether or not that person has integrity. Yep. And responsible. And whatever. Because a lot of people will take advantage of a heart. Mm-hmm. Because you have a heart and good. And say, look you right in the face and say, I will pay you back. And knowingly, no, they have no intention whatsoever in paying it back.
Exactly.
And so that's where you need to make that judgment, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, colleague, somebody you work with, whatever. Are they have integrity? Are they honest?
Because I'm discerning the wickedness now. They could be compassionate in other areas, but in money,
that's right.
They might not have integrity. You see what I mean? So I'm discerning.
That's
right. I want to think they got integrity, but they tell you that you believe them. Sometimes we go out on a limb, fam. Right. That's when we get hurt.
And that's the whole point of checking that limb. If it's strong enough to hold me.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know how it is sometimes. You actually go out, you really can't do it, but you know it needs it, and sometimes you go out on that limb, you still end this stuff. So that's still your problem.
But see, it's your problem. And what you gotta do is you gotta go to God and say, God, you know what I did? I need you to leave that with them. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna believe you to make up the difference. Because you said, he who lends to the poor is lending to God. So I need you, Lord, to give that back to me. Because clearly they're either not going to or they're not able to. So now I can still release them because I'm going to my God about it. You see what I mean? And I'm asking him to replace. Right. I'm not going to them because already that relationship is strained now or whatever. And I don't want it to be further strained. Right. I'm seeking the Lord about it.
Right. Joshua just let me know that he had a revelation on the floor. And I told him he should share it.
Please share that revelation and speak loud so everybody can hear you.
Well, what I saw was it's just like I see like a picture of, I don't know if anybody else can see it, but what I saw was there's this man with the really long with the beard, and then he has like a mustache, and he's wearing a crown. He looks a lot like Thorin from The Hobbit, and he's reading a book, and then beside him is a big man wearing a gas mask with like bear ears, and then beside him is a man that's like, he has a straight face and his hair is straight. He has like a crown of band around his hair. And then there's this like robot bird, I want to say, and that his wing is like a dinosaur head.
What does that mean?
I do not know.
Oh, wow.
That's why he wanted to share it, to see if anyone could discern it.
Now what
it sounds like,
write it down.
Right, but from what he's describing to me, sounds like tribulation time.
But not war, an airplane with a fire flash, something like that.
Wow.
Sound like war with gas, man. You're right, it sounds like.
Write it
yeah.
down.
Tribulation, write it down, sweetheart. Take the time to write it down now. So you won't
Definitely,
lose,
the
so you
Lord
won't
is
lose
ministering
it.
to us.
So gas mask mean that, something's
Something's
bomb or something,
Mhm.
filed out the thing and went in the air. And
Biological
the
weapon.
thing with the wing, with the robot, that could be, these new stealth fighters that they got, kind of look like,
Wow.
so, yeah.
Yeah, they have the war dogs that are robots and stuff. And the old person that seemed like that's from the way he describes it, sounds like it's a holy person or whatever in the middle of all this tribulation. So write Revelation down word for word, what you saw, and we'll all pray on it so that the good Lord can reveal just what he was trying to show you.
Amen. We gotta continue this one because we have to do the end of John 8, which is not a lot, but we gotta finish the end of John 8. So we're still in Proverbs 11, verse 17. A man who is kind does himself good, but the fool does harm to himself. The profits of the wicked are illusory, but those who sow righteousness gain a true reward. Meaning that profit is going to evade them, it's going to go away, it will hide from those who are wicked. Genuine righteousness leads to life, but the pursuer of evil goes to his own death. And we see that, of course, is going to end up with a lot. The crooked-hearted are an abomination to Adonai. But those sincere in their ways are his delight. Depend on it. The evil will not go unpunished, but the offspring of the righteous will escape. Now this is the blessing that was on Lot. Not that he was righteous, but the offspring of the righteous, because Abram considered him as a son. This is what the Lord keeps rescuing. It's not because of his own righteousness, it's because of that promise right there, that he was as a son to Abram. So the Lord keeps pulling him out. But we see what happens with that. Instead of it drawing him to repentance, he takes it for granted.
That's why when people stand on that scripture that says, as for me and my house,
We serve the Lord.
serve the Lord, then in the sure I kind of go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, God's gonna bring them.
Gonna bring him back. Because it's a train of a child and where he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's about the initial training. You see me? And that becomes important, what we've sown in the beginning with him. And with Lot, we don't know if Abram had a chance to sow those type of things, or whether his father had sown it to him. You see what I mean? And Lot just took over as an adult. But either way, the Lord, because of his relationship with Abram, he continues to rescue Lot. Does that make sense? He keeps doing it. Verse 22. Like a gold ring in the snout of a pig is a beautiful woman who lacks good sense, which means she does not have discernment. So she got the outer package, no inner package. What's going to happen? All that beauty will be wasted. The righteous desire only good, but what the wicked hope for brings wrath. Some give freely and still get richer, while others are stingy, but grow still poorer. That is the difference of the blessing of the Lord. When you think if I hold it, I'll maintain my wealth, but actually it starts to elude you. We talked about that earlier. The profits of the wicked are illusory. Verse 18, it starts to fade away because God doesn't bless stinginess. Instead, he blesses people who freely give. Give and it shall be given back unto you. So they give and he just keeps pouring into them. See, that's the person who's blessed to be a blessing. I give more, he gives me more. I give more, he gives me more. And Abram was that type of guy. The person who blesses others will prosper. He who satisfies others will be satisfied himself. The people will curse him who withholds grain, but if he sells it, blessings will be on his head. He who strives for good obtains favor, but he who searches for evil, it comes to him. And we see that what happened with Lot. He was looking, he was enticed, he's drawn in, he's searching for it, eventually he's entrenched in it, and he finds it. He who trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like sprouting leaves. Those who trouble their families inherit the wind, and the fool becomes slave to the wise. And that is exactly what happened to Lot, because he troubled Abram by not training his herdsmen. So they were called into Abram's herdsmen, so there's trouble now. Then later on, what happens? He becomes Abram's slave. Everybody in Sodom was Abram's slave until he decided to release them back to the kingdom of Sodom. Does that make sense? When he got them and rescued them back, they were all his slaves. Because they were slaves of the other kings, he pulled them back. They were his slaves. So Lot was the slave of Abram, who was the wise one. But Abram gives him and every other person in Sodom their freedom, which he did not have to do. Does that make sense? By rescuing them, he became their master. Might have been. He might have been. Verse 30. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he who is wise wins souls. That's our key verse for today. Proverbs 11, verse 30. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he who is wise wins souls. Why is that so important? Because Abram rescued Lot's body. But if his soul had been redeemed, he wouldn't have found himself in the position that he's going to find himself in. So while we may help people, we give to them, we may be compassionate to them, what's even wiser is to minister to their soul. So they can choose God for themselves. And when they do, now they're not headed toward death. Because you can take care of somebody for the rest of their lives. Doesn't mean when you die, you're all going to the same place. You see what I'm saying? But if I'm winning their soul by ministering to them, modeling for them, praying for them, and introducing them to the Lord as much as they will allow, that's true wisdom and it's going to last. And that's what Lot needed. Not that I wasn't ministering to him, but we see it didn't bear the fruit because he didn't actually make the choice for himself. Verse 31. If the righteous are paid what they deserve here on earth, how much more the wicked and the sinner? And the righteous being paid what they deserve is going to be blessings and favor with God. Even if it doesn't lead to material prosperity, they will have favor with the Lord and blessings from him, which may even just be spiritual blessings. But the wicked, it means that they will also get what they deserve. And so you want to be very mindful that no matter who we are, we're going to get what's coming to us. Now, we read most of John chapter 8 last week. We're just reading the end of it. Because we're going to see some wickedness and we're going to see some righteousness. So John chapter 8, verses 37 to the end. Because you'll remember, they were talking to Yeshua and he was saying that, you know, he whom the Son sets free is free indeed, and you should know the truth and the truth shall set you free, and all of that, but they're not listening to him. So these are going to be people, he's in Jerusalem. So they profess God. They profess righteousness. They even profess Abraham as their father. The same Abram that we're looking at in Genesis 13 and 14, whose name is later changed to Abraham or Abraham, they're going to profess him as well, but we see that they're not bearing the fruit, and Yeshua is discerning it, and he's going to speak to it. So this is John chapter 8, starting in verse 37. This is Yeshua talking. I know you are the seed of Abraham, yet you're out to kill me because what I'm saying makes no headway in you. Meaning they're not being saved. They're not receiving this truth. I say what my Father has shown me. You do what your father has told you. They answered him, our father is Abraham. Yeshua replied, if you are children of Abraham, do the things Abraham did. As it is, you are out to kill me, a man who has told you the truth, which I heard from God. Abraham did nothing like that. You are doing the things your father does. We're not illegitimate children, they said to him. We have only one Father, God. Yeshua replied to them, if God were your father, you would love me, because I came out from God, and now I have arrived here. I did not come on my own, but he sent me. Why don't you understand what I'm saying? Because you can't bear to listen to my message. You belong to your father, Satan, and you want to carry out your father's desires. From the start, he was a murderer, and he has never stood by the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he tells a lie, he is speaking in his character, because he is a liar, indeed the inventor of the lie. But as for me, because I tell the truth, you don't believe me. Which one of you can show me where I'm wrong? If I'm telling the truth, why don't you believe me? Whoever belongs to God listens to what God says. The reason you don't listen is that you don't belong to God. The Judeans answered him, aren't we right in saying you're from Sharon or Samaria and have a demon? That's going to be the place where they were half Jewish, half Gentile. So what they're trying to say is you're not really Jewish. Yeshua replied, me? I have no demon. I am honoring my Father, but you dishonor me. I am not seeking praise for myself. There is one who is seeking it, and he is the judge. Yes, indeed, I tell you that whoever obeys my teaching will never see death. The Judeans said to him, now we know for sure that you have a demon. Abraham died, and so did the prophets. Yet you say whoever obeys my teaching will never taste death. Abraham obeying you died, which is going to be Father Abraham. You aren't greater than he, are you? And the prophets also died. Who do you think you are? Yeshua answered them, If I praise myself, my praise counts for nothing. The one who is praising me is my Father, the very one about whom you keep saying he is our God. Now, you have not known him, but I know him. Indeed, if I were to say that I don't know him, I would be a liar like you. But I do know him, and I obey his word. Abraham, your father, was glad that he would see my day. Then he saw it and was overjoyed. Why, you aren't even 50 years old, the Judeans replied, and you have seen Abraham? Yeshua said to them, yes, indeed. Before Abraham came into being, I am. At this, they picked up stones to throw at him, but Yeshua was hidden and left the temple grounds. Now, this becomes so important to recognize because all the while they're believing that they are good Jews. They're religious, they're righteous, they're doing the right things, they're sons of Abraham, sons of God, and yet they have murder in their heart toward the very Son of God himself, the Messiah, the Mashiach that they have been waiting for. Now, that same thing can happen to us in various areas. We may love God this way and that way, but as soon as conviction comes in a certain area where we've yet to be delivered, we're angry. We have a wrong response to someone. This is a key for us that there may be wickedness in us. Whenever I have an overwhelming sense of anger, I'm enraged, I'm wrathful, something is going on in me. Doesn't mean the person hasn't hurt me or hasn't provoked me. But my emotions is going to reveal that something in me has been triggered, and I've got to look for it. Because that violence always covers up a lie. And if there's violence raging up in me, it's because there's a lie there and it's about to be exposed. And what's in me that's covering up the lie doesn't want to be exposed. And that's what's happening with them. That's why Yeshua is saying your father is the father of lies, because they're believing a lie. They're believing themselves to be more righteous than Yeshua. Yet all of his fruit, all of his works prove that he is one with the Father and that he's more righteous than they, because the things that he's doing, none of them can do. You see what I mean? His fruit speaks very clearly for itself. You see what I mean? He knows the scriptures better than anybody else. I mean, if they were really paying attention with clear eyes, and we'll actually see that next week, they would be able to see that he clearly is more righteous than me. Like Nicodemus was able to see. We know you're righteous. We know you're from God, because nobody can do what you're doing except that he humbled himself and he said, you know, I don't understand everything, but I know you're from God. I know that much. And that humility is wisdom. We just read that in the Proverbs. But when something in me gets puffed up, something in me gets arrogant, something in me gets angry, I gotta watch out. Because there's wickedness somewhere on the inside. And that happens to us. You know, any one of us at any given moment that could happen to. Pay attention, because now that's gonna help me to discern the wickedness in myself. I'm not looking at anybody else right now. Because maybe what you said was wrong, it wasn't right, but why did I have such a reaction? Because there's something in me God needs to address. You see what I'm saying? Because God is not the author of death and murder and violence and plotting. That type of stuff is coming from the enemy. Cover-ups, lies, that's coming from the enemy. I've got to find out what's going on in me. Where's the wickedness in me? Now I'm not looking outward, I'm looking inward. And Yeshua came more than anything to make sure that we did that. You know, with regard to his teachings. Of course, he came to redeem us from sin. But with regard to his teachings, he was always pointing to the individual. You look at you. Don't look at them, look at you. Don't look at them, look at you. He kept pointing us to our own discernment, to discern the wickedness in our souls, the unrighteousness. Because the truth is, all of us have it in us. If I can discern the wickedness in my own soul, I can humble myself and I can release it to God. And then God can make me righteous. There's no other recipe for it. I have to let him make me righteous. And that comes from me recognizing the unrighteousness, the wickedness that may be a seed in me. It doesn't make me a wicked person. But I have to discern the wicked seeds that have been sown, or sin, or unhealed wounds, you know, whatever that is residing in me that's allowing the enemy to be attracted to that particular area of my soul, is making me malfunction and not be the righteous person that Yeshua died for me to be. I've got to define those, and I have to spend time in relationship with the Father so that he himself can address them. That's what Yeshua is teaching them to do. And at this moment, that's what they should have done. But we see that the religion in them and the pride in them keeps them from humbly submitting to his truth, because he is the way, the truth, and life. He made that very clear. But they rejected it because they prefer the lie. Let us not prefer the lie. I'm not that righteous that I can't let the Lord reveal wickedness in me. Because that is preferring a lie. I'd rather look good than actually be cleansed that I might be good. You see me? Exactly, that is hypocritical. You gotta be transparent and honest.
You know, well, me personally, speaking for myself, with me, when I feel those provoked anger and I let it get the best of me, I know that the God is in me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that my flesh, my flesh is taking total control of it. And the older I've gotten, the more now I'm more disciplined with trying to pray that anger out,
right,
and pray it down,
right,
because when that flesh set in, for real, it can be a tornado.
That's wisdom. You know, that experience is
I
this is
don't even recognize it, so I know that the
God.
person that I say provoked it,
Right.
they can't recognize it.
Exactly.
I don't even know.
And I gotta take that to God.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta show me.
And I know, I know, the older I've gotten, when in my younger years or whatever, I didn't have the discipline as to where I would pray to take the anger out, because in the first place, I know that anger was not of him anyway, even whether it was provoked or self-inflicted or whatever.
Exactly.
I know it wasn't of God. That much I always did. But the older I got, the more I learned that when that's there, that's when I immediately need to start praying.
That's right.
Because
and that's an act of righteousness. The Bible doesn't say don't be angry. It says be angry and sin not.
Mm-hmm.
Which means in the wisdom I learned, oh, I gotta get this done. This is gonna take me over if I don't give it to him. That's the wisdom. That's the humility. That makes one righteous. Not to not have the emotion, but to rightly deal with it. That's what makes us righteous. I go to him with it. And we can have all types of emotions and temptations and inclinations. The point is, do I go to him with it? I mean, people often feel if I'm in the midst of sin, I'm meditating on sin, I can't talk to God. He don't want to talk to me. That's not true. That's the moment to talk to him. God, you know I'm weak. You know what I'm about to do. You don't stop me. I'll mess this all up. You gotta say stuff like that to God. He wants to be right in the middle of that situation. You gotta involve him. Don't say, oh, I done messed up too bad. I can't talk to God now. That's when you call him.
But that's what Satan wants to do. He's a trickster. He wants to put that to your head that you lost control so badly that you don't deserve to call.
That's right.
Or you messed up so bad.
That's right.
That you don't even deserve to call.
That's right.
Or you've gone too far.
That's right.
Or you don't deserve to go. See,
right.
He's a trickster. He's a deceiver. He's a master of deceiver. That's right. That's why you have to pray. That's why you have to pray without ceasing.
That's right.
And that's the truth on everything. And definitely for wisdom and discernment.
Amen. And I just want to say this last point, that those who don't do that, who don't call out to God in our weak moments, we're just like those teen runaways who get caught up in prostitution and all types of things, and they will not call their parents because they feel like I'm going too far. All their parents are doing is waiting by the phone, hoping that they will call, because they would come and get them in a heartbeat. But because they're the ones who left, because they ran away, and then now they're stuck in some horrible situation, they are too afraid, too ashamed, too whatever to call. Let us not be those kind of children to God.
And sometimes it's not shame. Sometimes it's also pride.
Pride could also
sometimes
be pride.
Pride is saying, well, okay, if I call them, then that means that I gotta look them in the face, and I'm afraid that they're gonna use that word, I told you so.
I told you so.
And they don't want to hear that, I told you so.
But I told you so is better than being stuck in a trap by the enemy.
That's right.
And that's what each one of us has to humble ourselves.
That's right.
Say, God, I need you.
And God never told us that the truth will always make us feel good.
That's right.
And He did promise us this time, that it will set us free.
Set us free. And that was actually in the teaching last week, is in John, earlier in John chapter 8. So next week, we're going to look at when the righteous suffer. That's the topic for next week, when the righteous suffer. And as believers, we definitely need that, because a lot of times we get discouraged and disheartened when we go through suffering, or we think that means we're being wicked, or it's some type of punishment, but sometimes the righteous do suffer. So we're going to look at John chapter 9, verses 1 through 34, Proverbs chapter 12, and Genesis chapter 15. When the righteous suffer. This is going to be an important point for us. So I pray that you would read it in advance. And we're going to pray now that you would be encouraged and that you would continue in your studies, and the Lord will continue to feed you. Amen. Father, we just bless you for this teaching, for the way you minister to our hearts. Give us the discernment to discern our wickedness, to see the wickedness within us and wickedness around us, that we can make the right choices and we can shift ourselves and adjust ourselves in accordance with your will, that you will be glorified and we will receive all that you have for us. We bless you that you remove condemnation and fear and pride. Hallelujah. Remove greed in the name of Yeshua, that we would not be drawn by the ways of this world, but we would be drawn by your righteous ways, and that we would be transformed every day, continually transformed into the image of our Heavenly Father, doing what you do, thinking as you think, speaking as you speak. We bless you for your grace to give it to us, and we receive it in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen.
We'll see you next week.
These guys are getting better and better.